In today's episode, interrupt my lunch? That's fine, I'll take another one. Civilian dependent wife demands salute because of her husband's rank. Here is your 0% idle time. So let's get started. Interrupt my lunch? That's fine, I'll take another one. Reading another post about Wally World and lunches reminded me of a story during my time working there many moons ago. I will also add that I worked there well over 10 years ago, so some things may have changed since then. I also have never been able to tell a short story, so I'll try to keep it not so long, but it's not going to be short. So not too long after I started, and at least a couple of years before this story took place, I was called into a meeting with the store manager to discuss a situation with another coworker. When they came to get me, I was on lunch, and so after the meeting was over, they informed me that I could restart my lunch, because I was entitled to a full uninterrupted hour lunch. Since they interrupted my lunch, I got to start again, and they would adjust my time for me. I kept this information in the back of my head for future reference, which worked out well. Fast forward a bit, and I'm working in the connection center, which is the department with the prepaid and contract cell phones. In our store, we were built into the electronics department, along with the photo center. At the time, we and the photo center were considered a special department. We were a different division from the main store, had separate payroll, managers, etc. So technically we were supposed to help cover each other's area, and couldn't be pulled to another department, or make another department help us. In practice though, electronics would usually help our customers if we weren't there, and we would help them on things we were able to. The exception was contract cell phones. We were the only people able to do a contract. We had to run credit checks, etc. Everything that was done through an actual cell phone store. For some reason I no longer remember, I was alone my whole shift this day. We normally had one person 9 to 6, one 12 to 9, but the morning person either called off or left early, and so I was on my own. Around 3:30 or so, about a half hour before my lunch should be, I had a couple guys come by wanting to see about getting a contract cell phone. I was finishing up another cell, so I told them if they wanted to look around, I'd be done in probably 15 minutes. They left, I finished with my customer, and I didn't see them again. I did wait around for them a bit, then had some other customers, etc., so I didn't leave on lunch until after 5. About 5:30, I'm close to getting locked out, and so I go to take lunch. The person working electronics is one of the few who doesn't really like our department, and refuses to help our customers, so I told him I was going to lunch and just send any of our customers to photo for help if they needed anything. About 30 minutes into my lunch, I hear an announcement across the intercom for customer needing help in the connection center. I am in the break room, so I call up to electronics, remind them I'm on lunch, and send customer to photo or tell them I'll be back in 30 minutes. Turns out someone just had a question about a prepaid phone card. About 10 minutes go by, and I'm being paged again. This time I ignore it because they know I'm on lunch. Few minutes later they page again. At this point I've got maybe 15 minutes left on lunch. One of the store managers comes in right after the second page. Asks me why they are paging my department, and I'm not answering. Now we got one unpaid HR lunch and 2 paid 15-minute breaks. Since we are still on the clock during our breaks, we can be interrupted, and they aren't guaranteed. If it's busy we sometimes won't get our second one. I guess because it's after 6, he assumes I'm on my last break and not lunch, and just being lazy and not wanting to go help. Because we were a specialty division and couldn't be pulled to the registers or other departments, there were a couple other deps that were like this, such as jewelry. This has all since changed. There were a couple managers who seemed to have beef with our deps and seemed to think us lazy or entitled because we refused to be pulled. So I start telling him that I'm the only one there and I have 15. Before I can finish my sentence he interrupts and tells me that I can take my 15 later. I need to go help the customer. I try again to explain I have 15 minutes left on lunch, I'm off the clock, and I'll be up there to help them afterwards, but he isn't listening, interrupts me again and says, "You can come restart your break after you help them, but I need you to go help them now." A light bulb goes off in my head and I ask, you want me to go help the customer now, and then restart my time? I do make sure not to say break or lunch, just time. So he rolls his eyes, says basically, I don't care, you can restart it, just go help the customer. So I say okay, gather my stuff, put it in my locker and clock in. At this point they have paged me again, and I have maybe 10 minutes left on my lunch. I go up to the department and lo and behold, it's my customer from 330 who has finally come back. He wants a phone. So I ask for his ID, tell him I'll have to run a credit check, see if he needs to pay a deposit etc., and asks if he knows what phone, plan etc. he's interested in. Well, as soon as I tell him we will run his credit, and he may have to pay something, he's not interested. He says his credit is shit, he tried getting a phone through the Sprint store, and they wanted a bunch of money, but he thought since it's Wally World, that IDK, we didn't check credit, we would just hand him a phone. So it takes maybe all of 5 minutes with him, and I go ahead and help another customer with a prepaid phone, then turn to electronics and tell them okay, I have to go restart my lunch, I'll be back in an hour. When I say his jaw dropped, he immediately starts asking what I'm talking about, I already had lunch, yada yada. So I explain that no, I didn't finish because management sent me to help the customer he kept paging me about even though he knew I was at lunch, so now I needed to go retake my lunch. I go sit back in the break room and at this point it's probably 645. I always read and had a book with me, so I was happy to sit and read for another hour. About 30 minutes go by and the manager from earlier comes by, I think they are clicking back in from lunch, and makes a comment about, oh, are you just now getting your break? So I say no, I am retaking my lunch break, I have another half hour to go. He stops, and you can see the wheels slowly start to turn as he asks what do I mean? I tell him that I was on my lunch earlier when he told me I needed to go help the customer, and because my lunch was interrupted, I had to restart. He of course says he thought I was on my break, why didn't I tell him I was at lunch? And I tell him I tried to twice, but he kept interrupting, and told me to help THR customer now and restart my time, so I thought he knew I was at lunch. I can still see his fat face get so red and tell me that's not at all what he meant, and he will talk to my manager tomorrow. There wasn't much fallout, I got pulled and questioned the next day, but I had messaged my boss and told her about it and the times I was at lunch to cover myself for time theft, and the photo employees backed me up on everything, including that electronics never told them a customer needed help or sent them the customer. The manager had to admit that he did tell me that I needed to go help the customer right then, and he never asked if I was on the clock or not. The assistant manager who questioned me did try to make it seem like I was being dramatic and should have just went up when I was paged. But I just asked what would have happened if I left for lunch, as I usually did. I think it was bad weather that day, so I had stayed inside, but I normally sat in my car just to get out of the building and would never have heard the pages. And asked if I had been given incorrect information before by the store manager? To which she agreed I was correct. I did make it known that had they talked to the customer, then called me in the break room and told me someone needed help WA contract phone, I would have probably clocked in early and went to help, and that I'd done that before. But since the first time the customer just wanted to know what card to buy, and they paged me instead of helping or having photo help them, I wasn't going to interrupt my lunch multiple times when I'm off the clock. I am pretty sure they talked to the electronics employee, because he never paged me like that again afterwards, and a couple employees who didn't know the lunch rule before learned it that day. And I got paid to read for an hour that day. Civilian dependent wife demands salute because of her husband's rank. There are a handful of rules to saluting in the American military. The when, why, and how is drilled into you from boot camp until the day you leave. Even the order in which the salutes are rendered have meaning. When it comes to vehicles, there are helpful insignia and stickers to indicate if it's an officer, such as a colored sticker located on the front windshield. My base was small enough where it was everyone's job at some point to do sentry duty at the front gate, which had housing for military families. Sentry duty was pretty basic, you'd stop every vehicle, check IDs, and then wave them through. If they were an officer, you'd see it coming with those colored stickers, and after verifying the identity of the officer, you'd salute and send them on their way. One day while on duty I approached a vehicle with an officer's sticker, and there was only the officer's wife driving in the vehicle. I returned her ID, wished her a nice day and waved her through. Pausing with a stern look, "Where's my salute, Petty Officer Citizen Alpha?" Now Karen here was wife to a higher-ranking officer, and as clearly has fallen under the impression people are saluting her somewhere along the way. Some of the junior enlisted might have even been saluting her as they're pretty easy to bully, and more prone F***CK ups. I politely replied, "Ma'am, salutes are only rendered to commissioned officers." Angrily pointing her chubby little fingers at the front of her windshield towards her husband's officer sticker, "I have a sticker, and you need to salute the sticker." Curtly I continued, "I'm afraid that sticker is not an officer either." Frustrated she pulled through and left my post. My cover guy, the guy keeping me safe with a big gun, and I watched her drive down the street and pull right into the administrative building with the top brass and huffed into the building as quickly as her soft shitty body would take her. We exchange a look between us with wry smiles, knowing exactly where this is probably going. Later that day we get a new official base-wide mandate. From here forward, all enlisted will salute vehicle stickers of officers regardless of who's in the vehicle. Roger that. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. It's worth noting that when you salute an officer as enlisted, you do it first, and you hold that salute until you are saluted in return, and they lower theirs. Only then do you lower your salute. It signals that you're saluting them, and they're replying. Additionally, when saluting a group of officers, you generally direct your salute and greeting to the highest-ranking individual. Now, as far as I know, this stupid sticker salute order has no accommodation for how a 2004 Toyota Camry fits into the officer's pecking order. Additionally, if the car is unoccupied, it's not like that sticker is removed. After that order came through, we all began saluting stickers. Personally, I direct my salute to the sticker. I would also prioritize sticker salutes over officers. Let me tell you, walking through parking lots was a blast as I saluted empty cars on my way to wherever. More and more people saw me doing it, and more people started doing it. Not long after the order was publicly rescinded, which hilariously had the balancing effect of never rendering a salute to anyone but a clearly known officer, cementing Karen never getting her unearned salutes. Here is your 0% idle time. I worked for a company that provides a utility truck, and one of the analytics they monitor is how long the truck stays in place with the motor on. The target number was something like 3%. I consistently was stuck in traffic due to my area being changed to the downtown area of my city and naturally raising my idle percent dash. My supervisor began constantly badgering me over the raise of my idle percent, about 10 to 12% higher now. After they decided to give me a written verbal warning, I became the most efficient truck no idler in our branch, and I brought it down to a 0.00 by shutting the truck off at every stop sign, red light, highway, stopped in traffic, in drive-thrus, and instantly off when I got to where I was going. Now remember, this is a utility truck that is charging my 2 phones, laptop, tablet, and my various equipment's rechargeable batteries, all this juice sucking, and no alternator spinning, putting the power back into the truck battery, causing it to die. A lot. Now the rules, the company had made it forbidden for me to jump the truck myself, so I had to call the company, and they sent out a tow truck to jump start it for me. I could do it myself anyway and probably would have, but they are writing people up out here for petty shit, and every time I call this tow truck it takes a minimum of 2 hours for it to show up. I began doing this multiple times a day, every day, until they figured my truck was broken. It goes to the shop, checks out, they give it back, I kill it again. They end up giving me an entirely new truck. I start killing it. I repeated this process until they gave me the 3rd truck, and the manager calls me to ask what my daily routine is. I go through the basics and add in the whole stop at red light, engine off, stop in traffic, engine off, etc., and dude goes, "Why the F***CK are you doing this?" My supervisor wrote me up for my idle time being too high. This is completely ridiculous. He tossed my write-up, and I'm guessing talked to the suit, because I never heard a word about idle time again, and I quit caring about it. There's my dumb petty story, thanks for reading. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.